the first five today, I want to focus on a street theater that is happening in Iran and actually is manipulating some of American media. After the killing by American forces on January 3rd of the Iranian general Soleimani, there have been videos available all over the internet, played on network television, of masses of people in the streets in Iran sobbing and lamenting the death of a supposedly beloved Iranian General Soleimani. And so many people, in fact, even the American media, have been drawn in by it, have commented how they saw tears in the eyes of the Ayatollah as this great man was laid to rest, making clear, of course, when I say great man, is how they're describing him. We talked about him yesterday and the many on this show on many just extraordinarily heinous, violent actions he has taken, responsible for the death of thousands of people, and including the deaths of more than 500 American military members and the maiming of many more. This was a truly an enemy of America, an enemy combatant. But I want to get to the street theater point just because I think it's important to understand that you might think in America he was the loved, deeply beloved by his people, but here are the facts. There is a journalist, an Iranian journalist, who had a piece in the Washington Post yesterday, and she essentially is writing about, her name is Masih Alinejad. So this is a journalist, a woman, Alinejad is her last name, and she wrote a piece in the Washington Post saying, do not believe this street theater going on in Iran. Yes, they may be showing hordes of people in the streets and sobbing and mourning over the death of this supposed hero. But she says this is the government of Iran arm twisting, forcing people to come, closing down schools, closing down businesses, closing down shops, threatening people, forcing them into the streets to give the appearance of this idea that suppose this man was so deeply beloved. It reminded me of something I wanted to share with you, a very quick story. So within the last year or so, my husband and I attended a fundraiser in Dallas, where we live, and it was for a Christian charity that is reaching out to Iranian Christians. In fact, in this entire world, and percentage-wise, Christianity is growing fastest in Iran. Many people are converting to Christianity in that country. This charity was trying to support the Iranian Christians who have to hide from the government, hide from the mullahs, in order to practice their Christian faith. One story this commentator, the head of this group, told at the fundraiser was having been in Iran during the time that some of the mullahs and other leaders in Iran were leading protests in the streets, chanting "Death to America, death to America." And you thought, if you were watching on television from afar, you thought that there were literally thousands and thousands of Iranians in the streets agreeing with the mullahs, agreeing with the Ayatollah, chanting "Death to America." This guy told us in this meeting in Texas, describing having been there in Iran watching this, said that the people were, again, arm twisted, forced into the streets, threatened by their government, people very fearful of the government in Iran. They're not about to fail to follow whatever the Ayatollah and the mullahs tell them to do. But in this particular protest he was describing, he actually played it on a screen so you can watch it. And they're not chanting in English, of course, they're chanting in Persian, but the mullahs are chanting "Death to America." The people in the crowd are supposed to be repeating what the mullahs are saying. But what the people in the crowd were saying instead was USA and death to Russia. Point is, even when the mullahs can get people into the streets to make an appearance of a big protest and the hatred of the USA, the simple fact was, even there, the people in Iran, the people in the streets that you see in the television shots, they are not supporting the mullahs. They're not agreeing with the mullahs. And in this case, back to what this woman is saying is, do not get sucked in by what the mullahs are trying to do. It is simply street theater. The Iranian people, literally millions of the Iranian people, do not support the mullahs, do not support what the Iranian government does, do not want to be seen as supporters. And very much, in fact, as protests have been ongoing in Iran, literally for over a year and a half now, many people in Iran are in the streets chanting to get rid of the Islamic majority government that they have, the very repressive Islamic government in Iran. So to wrap up our first five today, just understand, like we see street theater in America all the time, protests are not legitimate, not real, but the media would have you believe they're real. Right in Iran, where Iran's trying to portray to the world that everyone in their country is just beside themselves, including, by the way, the Iranian government having first graders having to do poses sobbing over the death of this awful man and writing letters of outrage to America. They have school children doing this. It is just street theater. Yes, I'm sure some of the hardline mullahs, the people committed to the Iranian Constitution, which, as we talked about at length yesterday, the Iranian Constitution is a jihadist constitution. Since 1979, for 40 years, the Iranian government has been committed to the constitution they created in 1979, which is itself a jihadist document, a commitment to follow the jihadist teachings that are rooted in Islam, rooted in the Quran, rooted in the teachings of Muhammad. And so what you have truly probably is a small number of hardliners actually saddened by the loss of this man, and many people in the streets simply because the government made them be there. Last point this woman made, again, this Iranian journalist, Alinejad, said she's been receiving in the thousands of videos, text messages, emails from people in Iran literally celebrating and thanking America for taking out this evil person. And that, my friends, is today's first five.